Hi guys, we have a load. It's lumber. I just wanted to take something a little different than one of those closed trailers. And it paid less. It's heavier. There really was no reason to take this load other than just because I wanted to. But you know what? I wanted to. Someone's backup beeper's going crazy. So we could talk about trucks. Oh, I need to go to the gas station. I know that's not the recommended route, but I'm doing it because I got to go to the gas station. So I've rented a few trucks in my time, and I don't know. I haven't really decided which one I like the best. Actually, I think I have, but we're going to get to that. I've rented a Nissan Titan before. I've rented an older F-150 that I hated. I rented a Ram that I like pretty much. But every car that I've ever rented is not the highest end, expensive model. I'm kind of a high-end kind of person. If I'm going to buy a car, I want it to be the highest end expensive model. Let's hope I can do this. Oh yeah, I can do this. My car, I mean, it's not new by any means, but it's kind of an expensive car. I mean, when it was for sale new, it was one of the most expensive cars of its model. And that's just kind of what I like. That's what I'm into. I like expensive cars, and it's not the fact that I like it to be expensive. It's just that I like it to have all the features that inexpensive car has. Leather seats and the moonroof and all the extra little features that don't come standard. I really like. And so that's what my car has. Everything that doesn't come standard. So when I look at possibly getting another car, that's kind of what I look at. And so that's why I've liked the Chrysler 300 so much over time. Driving the Chrysler 300, though, has proven to be... Oh, my cruise doesn't resume. Oh, poo. Anyway, driving the Chrysler 300... sorry, I was reading my text messages. It's a nice car, but it's probably not for me. It's more of a luxury sedan. It's more of something you would drive in the city, and it's just not something that you would drive on a regular basis on things that I do. Where I live and places that I go, I found that it actually drags, at high centers. And I don't like that. Not only because are you possibly tearing something up with the car, but there's also a lot more to tear up in that particular car. It is a rear-wheel drive, so it has the drive shaft going to the back there, and that's about where it seems to bottom out every time, and I'm just, I cringe every time. I'm like, oh gosh, I hope it didn't break something. So I hate to say it, but I think that the perfect vehicle for me would be a truck. Either a Dodge Ram or a F-150. So now we need to go into what kind of truck is the best. Now, I've wanted to drive a GMC before, and I've wanted to drive a Chevrolet before, and I've wanted to drive all these other different models and brands, and I just never were able to pull it off. The trucks that I have driven, though, I've driven a Ram Bighorn Edition 1500, which you guys have seen the reviews. I drove a Ram SLT, which is kind of a lower end, not as big and expensive as the Bighorn. I drove a 2013 Ford XLS. We'll say it's an XLS. The badging on the side said XLT, but I don't think so. So, And then I rented a 2015 Ford XLT. And the XLT, in my opinion, was greatly better. Yeah, hush. Speeding. The XLT was greatly better than the XLS, obviously, but it still lacked quite a few features. I mean, this is supposed to be one of the higher end. I mean, obviously there's higher ends than XLT, but XLT is supposed to be like the one everyone buys because it's got everything they need. And this truck didn't have satellite radio, it didn't have a towing hitch. There were several things that you had to pay extra to get added. But I just feel like you shouldn't have to pay extra to get those things. So, although I like the Fords, I have a problem with them. Now, if you go to the higher end, the Lariat, the Platinum, those are the best. The Platinum is that would sell me. If you were to give me a 2015 Platinum, I'd never need anything ever again. So, there's a few things about that. I like the Ford F-150, the Platinum, you know, a Platinum with an EcoBoost. I love the twin turbo. All that stuff is cool. But what if you want something bigger? What if you're looking maybe to go diesel? Maybe you want something just a little bit bigger. Well, you have to go F-250, obviously. But nothing about the F-250 is like the F-150. It's completely different. So some things that you have on the F-150 that you're like, oh, this was, you know, an added feature, but it comes to Platinum and it's everything I wanted. Well, if you go get an F-250 Platinum, you sacrifice losing a few of those main features that you know that the F-150 has, and you can't get it on the F-250 for whatever reason. I don't know why they do that. It really bothers me. There's several things that I like about the F-150 that you just can't get on the F-250 because that's the way they've got it set up. So, although I would love to have a turbo diesel Ford, I feel like I'm moving toward Ram more and more every day. And I don't know what I'm going to end up getting whenever I do get a truck. I would love to have a diesel, but they're expensive. Any kind of, you know, the Ram 2500 or the Ford F-250, in either case, you're going to spend a lot of money. And I don't know. I love the new design of the F-150, but the F-250 is completely different. I mean, it doesn't look anything like the F-150. It's not aluminum. You know, maybe they'll change it for 2016. I don't know. I haven't heard yet. But as far as like right now, I haven't heard that they've changed it at all. So now we can talk about the Ram 1500 versus the 2500 because they're exactly the same. The only difference that you have in those two trucks is the fact that the 2500 comes in a diesel. It's a more heavy-duty truck. It's not quite heavy-duty. You know, you're not 3500 or F350. You know, but it's a little bit bigger and better. So yesterday I was at my grandma's house, and I usually go up about once a week and help them mow the grass because, you know, it's a hard job and they need help. So I went up and helped them mow the grass. How do I get into this forsaken place? And my uncle came up. He comes up usually on Sundays. I actually haven't seen him in several years. Well, about 2 years, I'd say. And he recently bought himself a new truck. And it was a Ram 2500 diesel. Now, I've driven Rams, and I have no problem with a Ram. But I just feel like, you know, up until this point, I've been a Ford kind of person. I really liked the F-150. I really liked what they had to offer. So I was pretty content with sticking to Ford. Well, I was talking to my uncle about his truck there yesterday, and, you know, Ram's got a lot of nice features. And like I said, with the 1500 versus the 2500, I knew I was turning that wheel the wrong way. they're pretty much the same thing feature-wise. You can get all the features that you can get on the 1500 on the 2500. And, oh man, I feel like I've screwed this one up. Yeah. So you're not, they're not limited to, oh, I can only get this on this truck. I have to, I have to sacrifice losing the diesel to get certain features. I honestly can't name off any right now because I'm too concentrated. but you get what I'm saying. So the 2500, the 1500 are basically the same thing, which is good because you sacrifice nothing. My biggest thing was the fact that, I like Ram, but I really like the turbo diesel that Ford offers. I really like the fact that it's got a turbo, and I'm a turbo kind of guy after driving one. I've everything I ever wanted there. So, turns out the new 2015, which I guess they did it before this, but the 2015 Ram 2500 diesel actually includes a turbo, and that I didn't know that. That really got my attention yesterday when I found that out. So I did some research and just kind of, comparing Ram to, where's the thing to get a trailer? Comparing Ram to Ford and just kind of seeing what they had to offer. And the more I think about it, the more I like these Rams. They are nice. They've got everything, that I want. They got the turbo diesel. Everything just looks nice. And, I don't know a whole lot about Ram. Maybe there's a reason that, you don't buy a Ram. I don't know. Maybe there's not. I think each person has their own preference. And the thing is, I've always been Ford as my preference. But now, I don't know. I guess I just kind of seen another side of it. And I'm just like, okay, it's not a bad idea. The F-250, you're losing a lot of features. Like, I don't remember right now, but I think the F-250 has a different sync system. Like, the new F-150 is supposed to have the new Sync 3, but the F-250 still hasn't been upgraded or something like that. I can't say that I've been to the dealership recently and know exactly what I'm talking about. But, there's certain things that you sacrifice. And I know that for sure. And I'd rather not sacrifice anything just because I wanted this or that. So, with the Ram, you've got just small things that I've really grown accustomed to. Like, for example, in the Chrysler 300 that I'm driving right now, by the way, still have it. Little things on the steering wheel, buttons behind the steering wheel control your radio. And you know what each one does. Each button has a purpose, and you're not guessing and just pressing buttons. And so I love that. I just love how easy it is to do everything with those buttons. And I know exactly what they do because they're the same on Ram, on Chrysler, on Dodge, every one of them. They're all the same. Another thing is on the Ram, they actually have a select shift where you can select different, what gear you want to go in. And it's kind of like an auto manual. It still changes gears automatically, but you can tell it what gear you want it to be in, which kind of works out great when you're towing. And on the F-250, that's not exactly a feature. I know that you can get it in a higher trim level, but in the base trim levels, it's not a feature. Now, like I said, if I'm going to get one, I'm going to get the higher trim level. I don't know. I just feel like, here's my thing. Let's just put it this way. I love the outside look of the Ford F-150 and the Ford F-250. I think both of them look great the way they are. I don't care if they redesign them. If they do, I'll probably like them even more. I'm starting to like the F-150 less, though, at this point, because a lot of people kept saying that it was a copy of I think they said Toyota or Nissan. I can't remember. And then the other day I seen a Nissan Titan, and I thought that it was a Ford F-150, and then I looked and it says Nissan on it, and I'm like, what? That's ugly. So I'm just not a foreign car kind of guy, and so I wasn't interested in it, and it kind of offended me that it looked like a Ford, or a Ford looks like it. You never know. So starting to like that less, but I do still like the F-250. I think it looks nice. And so on the outside of the Ram, I'm not really liking that. I mean, it hasn't been changed in 10 years. I mean, maybe it has, kind of, but it really hasn't. I can look at a Ram and I can be like, well, I don't really know what year that is. Is it a 2012? Is it a 2015? Is it anything in between? I don't know. If I see a brand new 2015 F-150, I know that's a 2015. I don't question if it was a 14 because I know what they looked like and they were different. And the 14 was different from the 13, and well, they were kind of the same, but there were still distinct differences that you could tell them apart, even though they still looked kind of the same. With the Ram, I mean, each trim level has a different look, and it's not really a year model that has a different look. So I don't like the outside of the Ram. I like the outside of the F-150. But then, let's talk about interior. Completely the opposite. The Ram has a better interior. Overall, the interior is better. Which one of these is easy pass? Osht. It's this one. I probably should have slowed down. But the Ram has a better interior. They always have, or well, in my experience, they have. I'm a very unsafe driver, I know. But anyway, and the F-150, the interior is kind of undesirable. It's hard plastic. It's not really built that nice, and it's nice, especially on the higher trim levels. It's got a lot to offer, but it could be better. And Ram already has a nice interior, and especially on the higher trim levels, it is better. And so, I don't know. Give me a Ram and replace the outside with the body of a Ford? I don't know. I don't think that'd be worth even trying. But so yeah, that's where I stand on those two vehicles. I like Ford, I like Ram. I don't like any other, really. I've never really been a Chevy fan. I kind of hate Chevys. The only Chevy that I really liked was the Suburban, and I don't think I'll need a Suburban for another 20 years. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's an unrealistic assumption. But Suburban was nice, but I don't need nothing that big. So truck is kind of where I'm going with that. I once thought that I liked the Explorer, and then I thought, well, there's other nice SUVs that I like, but really an SUV just, I don't know. Guys drive trucks. It's kind of a stereotype, I know, but asked me 10 years ago, I'd have said I didn't want a truck. I didn't like trucks. The reason for that being was, back to the XLT thing, my grandpa has a F-150 XLT, and it's like a 99, and it's really basic for an XLT. I mean, I get there's higher trim levels, but an XLT is not the bottom trim level. Let's compare that to the Chrysler 300. At the bottom trim level comes leather seats standard and all these other great things, the 8-inch touchscreen standard. I mean, all cars should have at least a base where they don't go under it to make their cars halfway decent, like Chrysler. I really like the Chrysler 300. There are nicer ones in the higher trim levels, but in the lower trim levels, they're not that bad. In Ford, there are some really crappy cars because they don't have any standard, and I don't like it. So the XLT F-150 is supposed to be one of the mid trim levels, and it's undesirable. It's just bad. So my grandpa has one, and my dad has always had, well, he had a XLT, and then I convinced him to buy a Lariat, but but he had the XLT, And I didn't like it either. And it was newer. I don't remember what year it was, but I mean, it was a newer car or newer truck. And I still didn't like it because I was like, well, this really isn't that luxurious. It isn't that nice. I don't, I've seen more value in cars. Even a Ford car, my Ford Taurus, had a lot more to offer than his truck. And my Taurus was cheaper than his truck. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't like trucks. And then I rented a Ram, and I found that, the Bighorn, obviously, it's one of the higher end models. It's not the highest end model, but it's a higher end. It's not the cheapest that they have. And it actually had quite a bit to offer. Is this a red light? It is a red light. It had quite a bit to offer to be such a low trim level truck. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I kind of like this. It drives really smooth. It does everything I need it to do. It had a towing hitch, and we put that to some tests. But, I mean, it overall was a really nice truck. And I don't know, I used that truck for a lot of things. I took that truck a lot of places. I probably put more miles on that truck than I have this Chrysler 300, and I have really put some miles on this Chrysler 300. So I liked it, and that kind of got me looking at, well, what does Ford have to offer in the higher trim levels? I mean, are they luxury trucks? How is my assumption that trucks are just, work trucks and point A to point B and not any luxury in between? Has that been an incorrect assumption because I didn't think they had nicer trucks? And I think I've concluded that it was an incorrect assumption, because there are some nice trucks in the higher trim levels. But which maker makes the best? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know which one makes the best. I really don't know what I'm doing here. I know you can tell. Shh. Let me drop it. Nope. Alright, so I need to go. No, I don't. That's the wrong way. I just damaged my load. What an idiot. Alright, so I'm going to kind of do that for just a second and then straighten it out. Good. Oh. So yeah. What are your opinion on Ford versus Dodge versus don't care about the others because they're poopy vehicles? Alright, well, I'm going to cut it here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.